If you're just starting out with motion design and After Effects, you've come to the right place. Learning motion graphics can be really overwhelming. I know it was for me when I started, so our goal is to make that process much easier for you. I'm Jordan Bertone with SonduckFilm, and these 5 techniques we'll be showing you today will help you get a head start and get going in After Effects. Be sure to like this video, it helps us out a ton, and with that being said, let's get started. So for our first technique, I'm going to be showing you how to use the Trim Paths tool. This is an essential tool for creating accent motion graphics. With this technique, you can create some amazing compositions like this easily. To start out, we'll select the Ellipse tool, then click the Fill option, set it to None, click the Stroke option, set it to Solid Color, and set the stroke width to 35. Now, hold down the Shift key and click and drag to create a perfect circle. We want this shape to be a stroke because the Trim Paths tool mainly applies to the stroke of a layer. You can also use the Pen tool to create custom lines like the ones in this composition and apply a Trim Paths to that as well. To apply the Trim Paths to our layer, all you need to do is open up the layer, then select Add, Trim Paths, and now it will show up under Contents. When you open Trim Paths, you'll have an option for Start, End, and Offset. Start moves the start of the line, End moves the end, and Offset moves the origin point of where the start and end are. To animate our trim paths, set a keyframe for start and end, set end to 0%, move forward a bit on the timeline, then set start and end to 100%. Now if you look, you'll see nothing is happening, and that's because the start and end are at the exact same spot in the animation. So what we want to do is highlight the start keyframes and offset them forward on the timeline. This makes it so that the end of the line starts animating to draw the line, then the start of the line animates to erase it. Now you have this cool animated line drawing effect using the Trim Paths tool. Now that we have the circle animated, you'll notice that the animation itself is pretty stiff and it doesn't look very nice. For this next technique, I'll show you how to use the Graph Editor tool to make your animations go from this to this. Start by highlighting the layer that you have animated, then press the U key to show the keyframes for that layer. Now highlight all the keyframes and press the F9 key to make them Easy Ease keyframes. This applies the most basic form of animation smoothing to a layer. It looks better now, but we can customize it even further. Highlight one of the parameters you animated on your shape, then open the Graph Editor tool by clicking this button. You should see a big curve like this. If you don't, click Choose Graph Type, and then Edit Speed Graph. Now you can see the curve for the speed of the animation. It starts slow, then speeds up, and then slows back down. What we can do is highlight this curve, then click and drag one of the ends to edit the speed of the animation. Now it'll start really slow and then speed up at the very end, like this. You can pull the other end inward as well, so now the animation starts really fast, then slows down all the way at the end, like this. What we're gonna do is pull both sides of the curve all the way to the center so that the animation starts really slow, then has a big burst of speed, and then slows back down again, like this. This tool is essential in making your animations look more professional and allows you to create professional looking compositions easily. Before we move on to our next technique, if you're looking to save time and produce awesome work, check out our Motion Graphic Advanced Pack. It features over 750 templates for After Effects and Premiere Pro to help enhance your projects and make them stand out. With our easy-to-use extension, all you need to do is find a graphic you like and click Apply. Once it's out on the timeline, you can use our simple control layers to customize the graphic to fit your needs. And just like that, you have an awesome custom composition to use in your projects. Check out the link in the description below or visit SonduckFilm.com for more details. This next technique is how to use the Track Matte tool to create awesome masking effects for your layers. Using this technique, you can create some cool effects in your compositions like this. Here we have a basic title animation, and what we want to do is have it come up and reveal itself from nothing. So what we need to do is create a matte layer. Start by selecting the Rectangle tool. Make sure Fill is set to Solid Color. The color itself doesn't matter. And then make sure Stroke is set to None. Now move in the timeline to where the title is fully animated in, and click and drag to create a rectangle that covers the whole title. Rename this layer to Mask just to keep track of it, and make sure it's above the layer you want to apply the matte to. This is very important. Now, navigate to the Track Matte drop-downs. If you don't see this, click the Toggle Switches and Modes button at the bottom of the screen. Then, click the drop-down next to the title layer and select Alpha Matte Mask, which is the name of the layer. Now you can see the title appears when it moves inside of where the rectangle is. This is what an alpha matte does. It makes something visible only when it's inside of the layer it's matted to. The other way to do this is to go on the timeline before the title animates in, take our rectangle, move it over the title before it animates, then set the matte to alpha inverted matte. This is the exact opposite of an alpha matte. Now the title will appear everywhere except where the rectangle is. Now it shows up when it animates out of the rectangle layer. We can then take this a step further by selecting our two layers, right-clicking them, then select Pre-Compose. This basically takes multiple layers and allows you to combine them into one composition. Name this to Title, and then click OK. Now, here we have a nice background layer, and above that we have the title layer that we just pre-composed. What we can do is we can set the background layer to have an alpha matte. Now it shows up inside of our title layer. You can also do an alpha inverted matte. Now the background essentially has a hole cut out of it in the shape of our title layer. You can do the same thing with a photo or video as well. This technique allows you to create some cool effects, like in this composition we have a big shape layer animating across the screen and using a matte to reveal a different background after it passes by. This next technique is super simple. We're going to use an expression called loop out to take an animation and have it go on forever. Using this technique, you can create some awesome never-ending compositions like this. So here we have a basic shape layer with a position animation having it go from left to right. To add the loop out expression, what you need to do is hold down the Alt key and click the stopwatch for the keyframe that you want to loop. This will open the expression controls panel, and in here you want to type in loop out with a capital O, open parentheses, close parentheses. It should autofill it for you once you start to type it out. Now you can see that the animation is looping. It animates to the right, then resets back to the start and animates again. It'll keep doing this forever. But this looks kind of odd, so what we want to do to make it look nicer is go to our expression and inside of the parentheses type quotations and the word ping pong, like this. Now what it'll do is it'll take your animation, then play it in reverse back to its start, back and forth endlessly. So now we have this animation of the ball going back and forth. You can use this technique in bigger compositions like this, where we have this day and night cycle animation endlessly looping using the loop out expression. Our final technique is using the text animator tool to create awesome custom title animations. Using this technique, you can create amazing title animations like this easily. Here we have a basic title layer, and to start animating it, open the text layer, select Animate, and we'll choose Position, then go to Add, Property, Opacity. Set the position to 50, the opacity to 0%, then open the range selector, set a keyframe for start, move forward a bit in the timeline, and set start to 100%. Now the position and opacity of the title will animate to fully reveal it like this. If we want to have the title animate back out, what we can do is duplicate our animator by highlighting it and pressing Ctrl D, take the keyframes for start, move them down the timeline, set our position to -50, and set the end % to 0. Now the title will animate in, then animate back out, continuing upwards like this. You can also animate things other than position. Like with this title, what we did was we chose Animate, enabled per character 3D to do a 3D animation, and chose Rotation as the parameter to animate. Now you can see the title animates in as a 3D rotation instead of a position animation like before. One more thing you can do with title animations is you can set it to animate words or lines instead of each individual letter. The default setting is for a title to animate every character, which creates a typewriter effect like this. To change this, open the text layer, Text, Animator, Range Selector, Advanced, then change Based On from characters to words. Now each word will animate in as a whole like this. Then you can change it to be based on lines, which will make each full line of text animate in as a whole like this. Combining all of these techniques, you can create some awesome custom title animations for your projects. If you're a beginner and looking to become a pro, be sure to hit that subscribe button as we post way more in-depth tutorials every week. You can also download our free After Effects packs to save time and start producing pro work right now. Other than that, always be creating.